You wake up with good intentions. You tell yourself that today will be different. More focus, more control, less stress. And yet, within the first hour, something small breaks that promise. A message, a delay, a comment. Suddenly your mood shifts, your thoughts spiral, and without even noticing, your day is no longer yours. This is where most people lose the battle, not because life is hard, but because they were never trained to face it. You were taught how to work, how to study, how to chase results, but no one taught you how to deal with frustration, pressure, or uncertainty. No one showed you how to remain steady when everything around you starts to move. And this is exactly why Stoicism matters. The Stoics did not live in comfort. They lived through chaos, loss, power, and pressure, and yet they developed a way to think that made them unshakable. Not cold, not indifferent, but clear, disciplined, and in control of themselves. As Epictetus taught in his Enchiridion, chapter 1, some things are in our control, and some things are not. And your entire life changes the moment you truly understand that. Today, you are not going to learn abstract philosophy. You are going to walk through a day, your day. And step by step, you will learn how to practice 12 Stoic habits that can completely change the way you react, think, and live. Because Stoicism is not something you read, it is something you practice. From the moment you wake up to the moment you go to sleep. And it starts before the world even has a chance to test you. Habit 1. Prepare your mind before the world touches it. Before you check your phone, before you speak to anyone, before the world has a chance to shape your mood, there is a small window that most people waste without even realizing it. That window defines your entire day. Most people wake up and immediately react. They react to notifications, to problems, to expectations. They start the day already behind, already pulled by forces they did not choose. And then they wonder why they feel anxious, distracted, or out of control. The Stoics did the opposite. Before stepping into the world, they prepared for it. Marcus Aurelius wrote to himself in Meditations, Book 2, Paragraph 1, that when you wake up in the morning, tell yourself that you will meet people who are meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, deceitful, envious, and selfish. Not to become negative, but to become ready. This is where most people misunderstand Stoicism. This is not pessimism. This is strategic awareness. When you expect the day to be easy, any difficulty feels like an attack. But when you prepare for friction, nothing surprises you. And what does not surprise you cannot control you. Imagine starting your day knowing that things may go wrong, that someone may test your patience, that plans may change. Now, when it happens, you do not react emotionally. You recognize it. You were already expecting it. This creates a powerful shift. Instead of being dragged by the day, you begin to move through it with intention. Calm becomes your default, not your exception. So before you get out of bed tomorrow, take a moment. Not long, just enough to remind yourself that today will not be perfect. And that is exactly why you will be ready. Because the person who prepares their mind in advance does not break when reality arrives. And once your mind is prepared, the next step is deciding who you are going to be when the pressure actually shows up. Habit 2. Decide who you will be before the day decides for you. Most people enter the day with a to-do list. Very few enter the day with a way of being. They focus on what they need to finish, what they need to achieve, what they need to solve. But they never stop to ask a much more important question: who am I going to be when things do not go as planned? Because the truth is simple. Your day is not defined by what happens, it is defined by how you show up when it happens. Without a clear intention, you default to habit. And your habits were built by repetition, not by choice. That is why you say things you regret, react in ways that do not represent you, and lose control in moments that matter. The Stoics refused to live like that. They understood that character is not built in the moment. It is decided before the moment arrives. Seneca wrote in his Letters from a Stoic that we must decide in advance the principles we will follow, so that when the situation demands action, we do not hesitate or collapse under pressure. This is your advantage. If you decide before the day begins that you will remain calm under pressure, that you will not be easily offended, that you will act with discipline regardless of mood, then when the test comes, You are not improvising. You are executing. You are no longer reacting. You are expressing a decision that was already made. Think about it. How many times did you lose control simply because you never decided how you wanted to act in the first place? Clarity removes hesitation, and hesitation is where emotion takes over. So tomorrow, do something most people never do. Before you start your day, define your standards, not your goals, your standards. Decide that you will be patient. Decide that you will be focused. Decide that you will not allow external noise to dictate your internal state. Because once you decide who you are, the world loses its power to define you. And when that clarity is in place, there is one more shift that separates those who suffer from those who stay steady. It is the ability to act without being attached to what happens next. Habit 3. Detach from outcomes, focus on action. This is where most people lose their peace. They do the work, but their mind is somewhere else. They send the message, but keep checking for the reply. They make the effort, but feel anxious about the result. And without noticing, they tie their emotional state to things they do not control. That is the trap. You start believing that your peace depends on outcomes, on approval, on success, on things happening the way you want. And the moment that does not happen, frustration takes over. The Stoics saw this clearly. Epictetus taught in the Enchiridion chapter 1 that some things are up to us and some things are not. Your actions are yours. Your effort is yours. Your discipline is yours. But the result is never fully yours. When you confuse these two, you suffer, because you are trying to control something that was never under your control in the first place. Think about how much energy you waste worrying about outcomes, replaying scenarios, anticipating reactions, imagining results that may never come. Now imagine redirecting all that energy into one thing only: doing your part well. When your focus shifts from outcome to action, something powerful happens. You become lighter, more present, more effective, because you are no longer divided between what you can do and what you cannot. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself in Meditations, Book 6, paragraph 2, that the task is simply to do what is in front of you with precision and calm, leaving the rest as it is. This is not passivity. This is discipline. You still aim high, you still work hard, but you are no longer emotionally dependent on the result. You act well, and you move on. And the moment you truly adopt this, the pressure that once controlled you starts to disappear. But here is where the real challenge begins, because staying detached is easy when things are going smoothly. The real test comes in the exact moment something triggers you, in the space between what happens and how you respond. Habit 4. Master the space between stimulus and response. This is the moment that defines everything. Not what happens to you, not what people say, not the situation itself, but the fraction of a second between the event and your reaction. Most people never see this moment. It happens so fast that they believe their reaction is automatic, justified, even inevitable. Someone disrespects them, they react. Something goes wrong, they react. Pressure rises, they react. And then they call it personality. The Stoics called it lack of control. Epictetus made it clear that it is not things that disturb us, but our judgments about those things. That means the event itself is not the problem. Your interpretation of it is. And here is where your power lives. Between what happens and how you respond, there is a gap, small but real. And inside that gap, you have a choice. The problem is that most people never train themselves to see it. They live in reaction mode, immediate, emotional, unconscious. But the moment you become aware of that space, everything changes. You no longer react instantly. You pause, even if just for a second. And in that second, you interrupt the pattern. You ask yourself, what is really happening here? Is this worth my energy? Is this aligned with who I decided to be? That pause is power, because it gives you the ability to choose your response instead of being dragged by impulse. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself in Meditations, Book 8, paragraph 47, that you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Strength is not in controlling the situation, It is in controlling your reaction to it. And the more you practice this, the longer that space becomes. A second becomes two. Two become enough. Enough to remain calm when others lose control. Enough to stay clear when emotions rise. Enough to respond with intention instead of regret. But even with that control, there is another trap that quietly drains your energy every single day. It is not the big problems. It is everything that should not matter, but still manages to consume you. Habit 5. Stop giving importance to what does not deserve it. Your energy is limited. Your attention is valuable. And yet, most of it is wasted on things that have no real weight. Small comments, minor inconveniences, opinions from people who have no impact on your life. Situations that will not matter in a week, yet feel urgent in the moment. This is how most people lose control without realizing it. Not through major crises, but through constant distraction by what is irrelevant. The Stoics understood that not everything deserves a reaction. Marcus Aurelius questioned himself in Meditations, Book 4, paragraph 24, asking whether this thing that disturbs you will still matter in a short time. Most of the time, the answer is no. But in the moment, it feels real. It feels important. And that is the danger. Because your mind treats everything you focus on as significant. The more attention you give something, the bigger it becomes. So when you react to every small irritation, every unnecessary opinion, every passing frustration, you train your mind to live in noise. You become mentally exhausted, not because life is overwhelming, but because you refuse to filter what deserves your attention. This is where discipline comes in. Not the discipline to do more, but the discipline to ignore more. You do not need to respond to everything. You do not need to engage with every thought, every comment, every situation. Most things do not deserve your energy, and when you start seeing this clearly, something shifts. Your mind becomes quieter, your reactions become fewer, your presence becomes stronger. Because you are no longer scattered, you are selective, you begin to move through the day with a different standard. Not everything gets in, not everything gets a response, and this creates space. Space to focus on what actually matters. Because once you stop wasting energy on the irrelevant, you are finally able to direct your attention toward what truly deserves it. Habit 6. Direct your focus to what truly matters. Once you stop wasting energy on what is irrelevant, a new question appears. Where should your attention go? Because removing distractions is only half of the discipline. The other half is choosing, with precision, what deserves your focus. Most people never make this decision consciously. They drift. Their attention is pulled by urgency, by noise, by whatever demands them the loudest. And because of that, they spend their days busy, but not effective. The Stoics did not allow their attention to wander like that. They understood that your life becomes whatever you repeatedly focus on. Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, Book 3, paragraph 4, that your mind will take the shape of what you frequently hold in thought. If your attention is scattered, your life will be scattered. If your attention is disciplined, your life begins to take form. This is not about doing more. It is about doing what matters without dilution. Think about how often you switch between tasks, thoughts, worries. You start something, then your mind moves. You try to focus, but something else pulls you away. And at the end of the day, you feel tired, but not fulfilled. That is not lack of effort. That is lack of direction. When your attention is divided, your results are weakened. When your attention is focused, your actions gain weight. So the question becomes simple. What actually deserves your full presence today? Not everything. Not everyone. Just a few things that truly matter. And once you identify them, you protect them. You remove unnecessary interruptions. You bring your mind back every time it drifts. You train yourself to stay where your attention is needed. Because where your attention goes, your life follows. And when you start mastering your focus, something interesting happens. You realize that even when you are focused, there are still things you cannot control, situations that will not bend, outcomes that will not change. And that is where most people struggle again. Because control is an illusion they are not ready to let go of. Habit 7. Accept what you cannot control without resistance. This is one of the hardest shifts to make, not because it is complicated, but because it goes against your instinct. When something does not go your way, your first reaction is resistance. You question it, you fight it, you replay it in your mind, trying to change something that already happened or something that was never yours to control. And in doing that, you suffer twice, once for the event itself and once for your refusal to accept it. The Stoics saw this clearly. Epictetus taught that the key to peace is to distinguish what is within your control and what is not, and then to align your will with what happens, not to approve of everything, but to stop fighting reality. Because reality does not change based on your resistance. Think about how much time you spend arguing internally with things that already are: a delay, a mistake, someone else's behavior, a result that did not match your expectation. None of these change because you resist them, but your state changes immediately when you accept them. Acceptance is not weakness, it is clarity. It is the recognition that energy should only be invested where it can actually make a difference. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself in Meditations, Book 8, Paragraph 7, to accept whatever comes to you woven in the pattern of your destiny, because what could more aptly fit your needs? This is not about believing everything is perfect. It is about understanding that fighting what is out of your control only drains you. When you stop resisting reality, you recover your energy. You become calmer, not because life became easier, but because you stopped adding unnecessary struggle to it. And from that calm, you can act better. Because now your actions are not driven by frustration or denial, they are driven by clarity. But even with acceptance, there is a situation that still challenges most people deeply. It is not events, it is people. Habit 8. Do not take anything personally. This is where most emotional suffering begins, not in what happens, but in how you interpret what others do. Someone ignores you and you feel disrespected. Someone criticizes you and you feel attacked. Someone acts cold and you assume it is about you. And without noticing, you turn every external behavior into something personal. That is the illusion, because most of the time, it has nothing to do with you. The Stoics understood that people act according to their own beliefs, their own limitations, their own internal struggles. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself in Meditations, Book 11, Paragraph 18, that when someone does wrong, it is because they are mistaken about what is good and what is bad. They are not acting against you personally. They are acting based on what they think is right. This changes everything, because instead of reacting with offense, you begin to see with clarity. That comment was not about you. It was about their perspective. That behavior was not directed at you, it came from their state. When you take things personally, you give other people control over your emotions. They do something, and you react. They say something, and you feel something. Your internal state becomes dependent on external actions. That is not control, that is vulnerability. But when you stop taking things personally, you break that chain. You observe instead of absorbing. You understand instead of reacting. And most importantly, you stay in control of yourself. This does not mean you become passive. It means you become stable. You choose when something deserves your attention and when it does not. And in most cases, it does not. Because once you see that people are acting from their own world, not yours, offense loses its power. And what once disturbed you starts to feel distant. But even when you do not take things personally, there is still a decision to be made. How will you respond when you are tested? Habit 9. Respond with calm, not impulse. Not reacting is powerful, but choosing how to respond is even more powerful. Because there will be moments when silence is not enough. Moments when you need to act, speak, or decide under pressure. And in those moments, most people lose everything they have been trying to build. They speak too fast. They act too emotionally. They let the intensity of the moment dictate the quality of their response, and later they regret it. The Stoics trained for this exact moment. Seneca warned in his writings on anger that the greatest damage is not caused by the initial event, but by the reaction that follows when the mind is not in control. Anger, impatience, frustration, they all push you toward decisions you would never make if you were calm. That is why calm is not passive. Calm is strategic. When you respond calmly, you see clearly. You think better, you choose better. Your actions become precise instead of reactive. Think about it. In every situation where you lost control, it was not because you lacked intelligence. It was because you lacked composure in that moment. And composure can be trained. When something triggers you, your first impulse is to react, to defend, to correct, to respond immediately. That is where you pause. You slow down your response. You give yourself a moment. Even a few seconds can change everything, because the longer you delay the reaction, the more space you create for reason to enter. And reason is what protects you. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself in Meditations, Book 8, Paragraph 5, that the best response to anger is not to become like the one who caused it. This is the standard. Not to win the moment, but to remain in control of yourself within the moment. Because when you respond with calm, you do not just avoid mistakes. You elevate yourself above the situation. And once you reach that level of control, something deeper begins to change. You stop seeing people as opponents. You begin to see them differently. Habit 10. See people as misguided, not malicious. This is where your emotional freedom deepens, because even when you stay calm, there is still something inside that can disturb you. Judgment. You label people quickly, rude, difficult, disrespectful. And once you place that label, your mind closes. You stop seeing clearly and start reacting based on that judgment. This is how resentment begins. The Stoics approached this differently. They understood that most people are not acting out of malice, but out of ignorance. Not ignorance in the sense of intelligence, but in the sense of understanding what is truly good, what is truly right. Marcus Aurelius reflected on this in Meditations, Book 2, Paragraph 1, reminding himself that people do wrong because they do not see things clearly. If they truly understood, they would act differently. This changes how you interpret behavior. Instead of thinking that someone is attacking you, you begin to see that they are operating within their own limited perspective. Their actions are a reflection of their understanding, their habits, their internal state. And when you see that, anger loses its foundation. Because it is difficult to be angry at someone you understand. This does not mean you accept bad behavior or allow disrespect. It means you do not internalize it. You create distance between their action and your emotional response. You remain firm in your standards, but free from unnecessary hostility. Think about how much lighter you would feel if you stopped assuming intent behind every negative action. No more personal attacks in your mind. No more narratives built on incomplete information. Just clarity. People act based on what they believe, and many times what they believe is flawed. And that is not your burden to carry. Your responsibility is not to correct everyone. Your responsibility is to remain aligned with who you chose to be. And at the end of the day, after all the interactions, all the challenges, all the moments that tested you, there is one final practice that determines whether you are actually evolving or just repeating patterns. Habit 11. Review your day with honesty. Most people finish the day the same way they lived it, distracted, reactive, unaware. They move from one day to the next without stopping to look back, without understanding what actually happened inside them. And because of that, they repeat the same mistakes, the same reactions, the same patterns. Nothing changes because nothing is examined. The Stoics refused to live unconsciously. Seneca described a simple but powerful practice in his writings. At the end of the day, he would question himself. What did I do well? Where did I fail? What could I have done differently? Not to judge himself harshly, but to improve with clarity. This is where growth happens, not in the moment of action, but in the moment of reflection. Because when you review your day honestly, you start to see patterns. You notice where you lost control. You recognize what triggered you. You understand what you did right and what needs adjustment. Without this awareness, you are blind. With it, you begin to take control of your evolution. Think about it. If you never stop to evaluate your actions, how can you expect to improve them? You cannot correct what you do not see. And most people avoid this step because it is uncomfortable. It forces you to face your inconsistencies, your reactions, your lack of discipline in certain moments. But this discomfort is necessary, because it is the price of clarity. And clarity is what allows you to change. So before you go to sleep, take a few minutes, no distractions, no excuses. Go through your day. Where did you stay aligned with who you decided to be? Where did you fall short? Not to criticize yourself, but to refine yourself, because the person who reflects daily does not stay the same. They adjust, they improve, they evolve. And as you begin to see your day more clearly, there is one final realization that changes the way you live every moment that follows. Habit 12. Remember that your time is limited. There is one thought that, if taken seriously, changes everything instantly. Not your goals, not your plans, not your problems, your time. Most people live as if they have endless days ahead. They postpone discipline. They delay decisions. They tolerate what they should not tolerate. They waste time on things that do not matter, believing there will always be another chance to correct it. But there is no guarantee of that. The Stoics did not ignore this reality. They embraced it. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself in Meditations, Book 2, paragraph 11, that you could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do, say, and think. This is not meant to create fear. It is meant to create urgency with clarity. When you truly understand that your time is limited, your priorities change immediately. Small problems lose importance. External opinions lose weight. Distractions become obvious. You stop postponing what matters. You become more present, more intentional, more honest with how you spend your time. Because now every moment has value. Think about how differently you would live your day if you knew it was not guaranteed to repeat. Would you still react the same way to small frustrations? Would you still waste energy on things that do not matter? Would you still delay becoming the person you know you should be? This awareness sharpens you. It removes illusion. It brings you back to what is essential. And when you combine this with everything you have seen, preparing your mind, choosing who you will be, acting without attachment, controlling your reactions, focusing on what matters, accepting what you cannot change, dealing with people without losing yourself, reflecting on your actions, you begin to see the full picture. Stoicism is not a theory. It is a way of living each moment with clarity and control. And the goal is not to control the world, it is to become unshakable within it. Become untouchable from within. Now you see it clearly. Nothing in your life needed to change first, not your job, not the people around you, not your circumstances. What needed to change was how you meet all of it. Most people spend their lives trying to control what happens outside. They try to fix situations, manage people, predict outcomes. And when things do not go as planned, they feel frustrated, anxious, and powerless, because they built their peace on something unstable. But the Stoics chose a different path. They focused inward. They trained their mind before the world could influence it. They decided who they would be before pressure appeared. They acted without attachment, responded without losing control, and accepted what they could not change without resistance. And because of that, they became steady, not because life was easy, but because they were prepared. This is what makes someone truly strong. Not dominance over others, not perfect outcomes, but the ability to remain grounded when everything around you is uncertain. Think about what happens if you take just one of these habits and apply it tomorrow. You wake up and prepare your mind. You decide who you will be. You pause before reacting. You ignore what does not matter. You focus on what does. You accept what you cannot control. You deal with people without taking things personally. You reflect before you sleep. That is not a small change. That is a different way of living. And it starts with a decision. Not someday, not when things calm down, now. Because the longer you wait, the more you reinforce the patterns that keep you stuck. But the moment you choose to practice this, even imperfectly, you begin to take control back. Quietly, gradually, powerfully. And one day, without even realizing it, you will notice something different. The things that used to shake you no longer do. The situations that used to control you no longer have that power. And for the first time, your peace will not depend on what happens next. It will come from you.